Hi, and welcome back. I'm Dani-gazer, and today we're going to be talking about the Civil War. First, we're going to start off with the main people and the main causes. Our key figures today will be Abraham Lincoln, who's our 16th president of the United States at the time and pushed for the abolition of slavery. And then our next person is going to be Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the Confederates, which was based in the South of, which is based in the South. And then there's Ulysses S. Grant, who was the general for the Union. And lastly, Robert E. Lee, who was the general for the Confederates. The main causes for this unfortunate event was slavery because of how inhumane it was. Abe Lincoln pointed it out, and there was also multiple books written about it. And the states of the South also thought they should get more power and say in things since they had more people, which led to the South seceding from the Union. Speaking of secession, because of how unhappy the South was, 11 of the southern states ended up seceding from the Union and formed the Confederate States, and the main one to start off the succession was South Carolina in 1860. The real start of the war, like fighting and stuff, was when the Confederates opened fire on Fort Sumter in Charleston, which took place in the year 1861. In 1862, there was the Battle of Fort Donelson, which was an early victory for the Union and even helped boost Ulysses S. Grant's reputation and name at the time. Later on in 1862, there was also the Battle of, excuse me if I say this wrong, Antietam, which resulted in 23,000 casualties and over 3,000 fatalities. This was considered one of the most bloodiest battles in the American history. There was also Lincoln, who issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which meant that all slaves in the Confederate territory were free, but they didn't really have any rights. They were still uneducated and discriminated against, and most people didn't even really follow the emancipation. Then in 1863, there was the Battle of Gettysburg. It was Robert E. Lee second time invading the North after succeeding with the Battle of Chancellorsville. And the South was pretty confident at the time, and the North was very discouraged because it just felt like a losing streak for them. But ultimately, the Union ended up winning with George G. Meade leading the way, and this battle ended up being the major turning point in the war. It even boosted the morale for the North and gave them an extra confidence. Finally, there was the Gettysburg Address that Lincoln emphasized how treating slaves differently wasn't really human equality that they pushed for. But at the end of the battles and everything that happened in the Union came out, but the Union came out with the final victory in 1865 and reunited the United States all into a single nation. Slavery was officially abolished with the 13th Amendment coming out in 1865 as well. And although there really was a happy ending, nothing really ended because there was still animosity from certain people in the South. But it started off Reconstruction, and the South was literally destroyed. People's homes were gone and stuff, and people lost their living because the plantation economy fell since it was banned now. And everything pushed for industrialization, and it also helped they also had to help introduce former slaves into society. And with slaves coming out, it also sparked the women ideology and uprising, considering during the war, women were taking on manlier roles. Like, even though they weren't fighting the battles, they were still had to be nurse, and also were taking over their husband businesses. So all in all, the Union won, but the battle never really ended. That's gonna be all for today.